Lyra, the little alien girl, walked slowly through the dusty playground of Zorath Academy, her small green hands clutching her backpack tightly. Her big round eyes looked around nervously as the other children laughed and shouted around her. She tried to keep her head down, hoping no one would notice her. But she could feel their eyes on her, sharp and cruel. Whispers followed her as she moved, voices calling her names that made her cheeks burn with shame. She knew she was different from them. Her small size, the soft glow of her skin, and the unusual shape of her eyes made her an easy target. A group of older alien children stepped in front of her, blocking her path. Their leader, a tall alien with sharp horns and a cruel grin, pushed her gently at first, then harder until she fell to the ground. Lyra gasped as the dirt pressed against her soft skin, her backpack spilling beside her. "Eat it," the leader shouted, laughing as the others joined in, pointing at the dirt and mocking her. Lyra's heart pounded. She shook her head, trying to pull herself up, but they grabbed her arms and forced her down again. The laughter was loud, echoing across the playground, and she felt tears sting her eyes. She did not understand why they were so mean, why they wanted to hurt her. She felt small, powerless, and alone. The other children watched quietly, some pretending not to see, others too scared to help. The feeling of isolation wrapped around her like a cold shadow. Lyra thought about running, escaping to the quiet corners of the academy where no one could find her, but she knew they would follow, and she was too tired, too scared to fight. The bullies continued their cruel game, making her scrape the dirt with her tiny fingers. She felt humiliated, every fiber of her being wanting to disappear. Then, from the edge of the playground, someone watched, unseen by the bullies. A human, tall and calm, with eyes full of concern, observed the scene carefully. He noticed the fear in Lyra's eyes, the cruel smiles of the bullies, and the helpless silence of the other students. He clenched his fists, debating whether to step in or wait for the perfect moment. Lyra could not see him, but somehow she felt a strange warmth, a small hope flickering inside her. She whispered to herself, "Maybe someone will help me." As another bully forced her hand into the dirt, the human finally made his move, taking a careful step closer, but not yet revealing himself. The bullies laughed, enjoying their victory, unaware that their actions were being watched. Lyra's heart raced. She wanted to cry, she wanted to hide, but she also felt a strange curiosity, a tiny spark of courage growing inside her. She looked up at the sky, trying to imagine a world where no one bullied her. And in that moment, the story of courage and hope began. The little alien girl on the ground, humiliated and scared, and the human standing nearby, ready to make a difference. The playground seemed bigger, the air heavier, and every laugh from the bullies louder. But for Lyra, something had changed. A small, quiet hope had entered her heart, a hope that maybe, just maybe, she would not be alone. From a distance, Captain Marcus watched the playground quietly, his sharp eyes tracking every movement. The little alien girl, Lyra, looked so fragile and alone, and the cruelty of the bullies made his jaw tighten. He clenched his fists, wondering if he should step in immediately or wait for the right moment. The wind blew gently, carrying the sounds of laughter and shouts across the yard. Marcus could see how the bullies surrounded Lyra, pushing her to the ground and forcing her fingers into the dirt. He noticed the fear in her big round eyes, the trembling of her small body, and he felt a deep anger rising inside him. Other students watched silently, too scared to act. Some whispered to each other, while others pretended not to see. Marcus understood the power of fear. He knew that sometimes, people stayed silent not because they did not care, but because they felt powerless. Lyra's tears fell quietly onto the dusty ground, and she whispered to herself, "Why me? Why do they hate me so much?" Marcus shook his head slightly, wishing he could tell her that she was not alone, that someone would stand by her side. He took a careful step closer, staying hidden behind a small wall, observing every movement, planning his intervention. The bullies laughed louder, thinking no one was watching. They shoved her roughly, their cruel voices echoing, "You are worthless. No one will ever help you." Lyra tried to rise, but their hands pushed her down again, and her little body trembled with fear. Marcus felt a pang in his chest, a mix of anger and determination. He thought about the best way to act. He could confront the bullies directly, but that might scare Lyra even more, or he could use his human knowledge and clever tactics to stop them without violence. He watched as Lyra's eyes flicked up, searching for a way out, a friend, anyone who could help. A small spark of hope shone in her gaze, and Marcus knew that she believed, even for a moment, that someone would come. He breathed deeply, preparing himself. He had to time his move carefully, not too soon, not too late, or the bullies might harm her more. Lyra struggled on the ground, feeling humiliated and desperate. She wanted to hide, to disappear, but she also felt a strange comfort, sensing that someone, somehow, was watching her. Marcus adjusted his stance, making himself ready. His eyes never left the bullies, who were too busy celebrating their cruelty to notice. He saw them whispering plans to make Lyra even more miserable, and he knew he could not wait any longer. He had to act soon, but he needed the moment to be right. He wanted Lyra to feel safe, not more scared. The sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the playground. The sounds of laughter and mockery filled the air, but Marcus felt a calm determination, a promise forming in his heart that he would protect her, that he would show the bullies that their cruelty had limits. Lyra, still on the ground, looked around nervously, sensing someone close, someone who might care. The tiniest hope began to grow, and she whispered softly, "Maybe someone will help me," not knowing that her hope was not empty. And so, the stage was set, the hidden observer, a human ready to act, and the little alien girl, trapped by fear and cruelty, waited for the moment when courage would change everything. The playground was tense as the bullies continued their cruel game. Lyra's small hands scraped the dirt as she tried to cover her face, but the laughter and shoving did not stop. Captain Marcus stepped forward carefully, making sure the bullies noticed him but not in a threatening way. "Hey!" Marcus called out, his voice firm but calm. "Stop what you're doing." The bullies froze for a moment, turning toward the human, their eyes narrowing with surprise. They were not used to being confronted, especially by someone so calm and confident. Lyra looked up, her heart racing. She could hardly believe her eyes. A human was actually standing up for her. She felt a tiny spark of hope inside, something she had not felt for a long time. The leader of the bullies sneered, "And what are you going to do about it?" Marcus did not answer with anger. Instead, he took a slow step forward, making the bullies feel unsure and uncomfortable. The other children on the playground watched silently, curious and surprised by the sudden change. Marcus spoke again, "Hurting someone weaker than you will not earn respect. It will only make you smaller." His words were simple, but they carried power. The bullies exchanged nervous glances, feeling the first sting of doubt. Lyra tried to stand, encouraged by Marcus' presence. She whispered softly, "Thank you," though the words were almost lost under the bullies' muttering. Marcus nodded at her, a small, reassuring gesture, telling her that she was safe, at least for now. The bullies, still unsure, began to step back, but their leader tried to regain control. "She's weak. She's nothing," he shouted, trying to provoke fear again. Marcus remained calm, holding his ground. "Weakness is not failure," he said, "and cruelty is never strength." The tension in the air was heavy. The playground seemed to hold its breath. The other students watched closely, some feeling inspired, some still afraid, but everyone sensed that something important was happening. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling courage grow inside her. For the first time, she felt she could look the bullies in the eyes. She lifted her chin slightly, and even one of the smaller bullies seemed to hesitate, unsure what to do next. Marcus stepped closer, just enough to show he was ready to protect her if needed. His calm bravery made the bullies realize that their games could not continue without consequences. The leader's grin faded slightly, frustration replacing arrogance. Suddenly, one of the bullies whispered something to the leader, and they seemed to plan a secret retaliation. Marcus noticed the movement, his senses alert. He knew that this was only the first confrontation, and the challenge was far from over. Lyra's hands were no longer shaking, her small eyes now filled with determination. She whispered to herself, "I can do this." Inspired by the human beside her, the bond between them was quiet but strong, built on courage and trust. As the bell rang to signal the end of recess, the bullies backed off for now, leaving Lyra standing with Marcus, still shaky but safe. The first intervention had worked, but the story was far from over. Suspense lingered in the air, hinting that the bullies might return. Lyra looked at Marcus, her eyes full of gratitude. "I didn't think anyone would help me," she said softly. Marcus smiled slightly. "You're never alone when someone cares." The playground, once a place of fear, now held a quiet hope. And so, the first battle was won, not with violence, but with courage, wisdom, and calm determination, the little alien girl had taken her first step towards standing tall, and the human had made it clear that cruelty would not go unchallenged. The next day, the playground was tense. Lyra walked carefully, glancing at the bullies who had been waiting. Their eyes followed her every move, whispering cruel plans to humiliate her again. Marcus stood nearby, watching silently, ready to act. The bullies had chosen their moment. They surrounded Lyra once more, their leader stepping forward with a cruel grin. "Thought we forgot you? Today you will learn your place," he sneered. Lyra's heart pounded, her small hands trembling. She felt fear rising, but also a spark of courage from the day before. Marcus stepped closer, his presence calm but strong. "Enough," he said firmly. The bullies turned, surprised by his confidence. Their leader laughed. "And what will you do, human?" "She is nothing." Marcus's eyes met the leader's, steady and unshaken. "Nothing," he said slowly. "Then why do you feel the need to prove yourself by hurting her?" The tension grew. The other students watched in silence, sensing that something big was about to happen. The bullies looked at each other, unsure how to respond. Marcus moved carefully, revealing a small device in his hand. It glowed softly, its purpose unclear but its effect clear: fear and caution. Lyra looked at Marcus, curiosity and hope filling her eyes. She whispered softly, "Will it work?" Marcus nodded slightly, signaling her to stay calm. The leader of the bullies stepped closer. "Do you think you can stop us?" he shouted, trying to hide his nervousness. Marcus spoke slowly. "I don't need to stop you with force, I only need to show you what your cruelty creates." He activated the device, and a soft holographic light projected around the bullies, showing how their actions looked from another perspective, their meanness exaggerated and ugly. The bullies froze, staring at the reflection of their own cruelty. The leader tried to laugh, but it sounded hollow. The other students watched, some whispering to each other, surprised by the human's cleverness. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling her own courage grow. She stepped forward slightly, looking at the bullies without fear. Marcus smiled faintly, encouraging her. "See? Strength is not in hurting others, strength is in standing tall and protecting what is right." The bullies exchanged glances, their confidence shaken. Their plan to humiliate Lyra had failed. One of the smaller bullies stepped back, ashamed, while the leader tried to maintain control, but even he seemed unsure. Marcus stayed calm, giving them a chance to retreat. The message was clear: cruelty would not be rewarded, and the little alien girl was not alone. Lyra's smile grew, her fear replaced with confidence. She whispered to herself, "I can do this now." Marcus nodded, proud of her courage. The bullies, now hesitant and defeated, slowly backed away, muttering insults under their breath, but no longer daring to touch her. The playground felt different, quieter, yet filled with a new energy. The other students looked at Lyra with surprise and respect. Some even offered small nods of support. Marcus remained near her, a silent protector, ready if needed. The first big confrontation was over, and for the first time, Lyra felt she had power over her own fear. She understood that courage could come in small steps, guided by kindness and wisdom. The bullies had been taught a lesson, but the story was not finished. The world still held challenges and moments where bravery would be tested. Lyra looked up at Marcus, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you for helping me," she said softly. Marcus smiled. "Remember, courage is inside you too, and you have the strength to face anything." The little alien girl stood taller, ready for whatever might come next. And so, the stage was set for the final part, the bullies humbled, Lyra confident, and the human showing that true strength lies in courage, kindness, and clever action. The next morning, the playground felt different. Lyra walked with her head held a little higher, her small hands steady. The bullies lingered in the distance, but their cruel laughter had lost its power. They no longer dared to approach her directly. Their whispers were cautious, unsure, as if they remembered the human's clever lesson from yesterday. Lyra glanced at Marcus, who stood quietly near the edge of the playground, watching her, offering silent support. His presence gave her courage, but now she felt something more, a strength rising from inside herself. She did not need protection for everything anymore. She had learned to stand tall. Some students smiled at Lyra, small gestures of kindness that made her heart warm. She realized she was not alone, that courage could inspire others, and even the smallest act of bravery could change the mood of an entire school. The bullies tried to whisper insults, but Lyra ignored them, walking past them confidently, her glowing green skin shining in the morning light. She felt proud, not because she had defeated them with force, but because she had faced her fear. Marcus approached her quietly, a faint smile on his face. "You've done well," he said. "You faced them with courage, and you inspired others too." Lyra nodded shyly. "I couldn't have done it without you," she admitted softly, though she realized now that part of the courage had come from inside her. The playground began to feel like a place of hope, rather than fear. Even the smaller bullies seemed hesitant to be mean. Some looked embarrassed, others confused, realizing their actions had been wrong. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling proud, knowing she had changed something, not just for herself, but for everyone who watched. Marcus knelt down slightly to meet her eyes. "Remember, kindness and courage are stronger than cruelty," he said gently, "and humans, and aliens alike, can make a difference when they do the right thing." Lyra smiled, understanding the truth in his words. A sense of warmth and hope spread through her chest. The other students began to gather around her, some offering small words of encouragement, some even apologized quietly for not helping before. Lyra nodded at them, forgiving, understanding that fear had held them back. The playground felt alive with new energy, a feeling of fairness and justice. The bullies slinked away, no longer feeling powerful, their laughter gone, replaced by silence. They had learned, in their own way, that cruelty had limits. Lyra looked around at the playground, at her classmates, at Marcus, and realized she had grown, not just stronger, but wiser. Marcus watched her quietly, proud of the little alien girl who had faced fear and humiliation. She had found courage within herself, inspired by humanity's kindness and wisdom. Lyra's story had become a small but powerful example of HFY, showing that even one human's courage could inspire hope and bravery in others. Lyra turned to Marcus. "I feel stronger now," she said softly. "I know I can face them if I need to." Marcus nodded. "And you will," he said calmly, "because courage is something you carry with you, always." The sun shone brighter on the playground, the laughter now friendly and light. Lyra walked among her classmates with confidence, the bullies subdued and the students learning from her example. The day had ended not with fear, but with hope, courage, and the promise of a better future. And so, the little alien girl, once tormented on the ground, stood tall and proud. Her courage and the humans' kindness had changed everything. The story of fear, cruelty, and bravery had reached its end, leaving a message clear for all who watched, that even in the darkest moments, courage, kindness, and humanity could shine the brightest.